last little details here. Quick cosmetic change out. Nice 110th anniversary Harley Davidson 5-hole derby cover from 2013. That bronze and brass and black and silver really matches nice the overall colors of the bike. I'm getting ready to put the passenger pegs on, and while I was doing that, I went ahead and put this panhead style steel kidney shaped toolbox on the bike. It's always good to carry tools on it. And I got the toolbox mount connected to the original exhaust pipe mount on the bottom, and I used the mount when I did the exhaust. The mount that I made for the collector there is actually connected to the toolbox mount and the pipe mount and the frame, so everything kind of gangs together there. And now I'm just going to go ahead and slip on this spacer sleeve, and I'll just thread on my foot peg yoke. I know I've said it before, I'm going to say it again. I've always hated these O-ring style foot pegs that were coming off. I'm putting something really cool in here, but I'm just going to go ahead and use that to get the thing on, and then I'm going to go ahead and change the peg. So I'm replacing these ugly O-ring pegs that are like from the 80s. These billet aluminum knurled anodized holdfast pegs from Boosted Brad's Death Metal Racing, like supporting American made, you know, small businesses, and you know, plus they're cool. If it's the world's fastest FatBoy, it's got to have the pegs, right? And I'm going to use stainless hardware. I'll switch out the stock hardware for stainless hardware. So here we go. I was digging through some boxes I have, and I found this from the old days, one of my old Choppers Inc. billet points covers. I didn't know I had any of these left. This one's obviously been used, but it came off of probably one of my old bikes. But I'm gonna go ahead and replace the Harley Davidson stock cover with the Choppers Inc. cover. I got my White Knuckler brand Choppers Inc. knife. It's got a little bit of road rash on it. You can see there on the little brass. I was wearing it on my Harley 45 on the Sons of Speed track, and I had a crash in practice, and got a little bit tore up. It flew out of the sheath and went bouncing down the track, but just gave it a little bit of character. Looks like these timer screws have never been out. I can't get them out with a screwdriver. Just the screwdriver head's just slipping in the Phillips head, so I'm going to use this impact driver to get him out. Never fails. And you can't just put the points cover on with new screws. You got to go ahead and get these rivets out. If these rivets fall back in behind and get caught in that timer cup, the ignition pickup, you'd have all kind of problems. There was no gasket in it. I find it hard to believe it came from the factory that way. I'm going to put one in it. I'm going to go ahead and take these stock floorboards off this bike and put something pretty neat on it. Show you what I'm going to do. I got to do some fabrication to get these other footboards on it, but you'll see when I get done that this is definitely worth doing. So the Harley Davidson FatBoy is made to look like a 1950s Harley Davidson panhead, which would be the half moon or D-shaped footboard. You see how far apart the mounts are, and they don't line up with the mounts on the FatBoy foot control. So I'm going to relocate. This is something somebody was custom making. I'm going to go ahead and relocate this mount, move everything back so that this lines up with this yoke here off of the forging off of the frame, and get this thing mounted up. Okay, so here's how I'm going to set this whole thing up. I'm just going to go ahead and put this footboard mount in here, you know, basically where it's going to need to ride. So I already encountered one problem. You can see where this first bolt hole, where this bolt will go through, it hits the stop on the foot control yoke. So if I had the bolt in, you couldn't get the footboard down. So I'm going to have to go ahead and re-drill this hole up here somewhere else in the board to mount the boards, but that's not a big deal. Same on the rear. I've taken the bolt out, and I'll go ahead and put this mounting screw in here, and I'll go ahead and relocate everything. It's just the way it is when you're fabricating, but this is worth doing. You'll see when I'm done. So from underneath, you know, I've just got to relocate these holes. I get the footboard lined up, and real simply, I'm just gonna use a Sharpie and use the holes that are already in the bracket to mark where my hole needs, where I need to drill my hole. I got my front mount bolted on one bolt. You know, I haven't countersunk the hole yet, but I got the bolt moved back. You see, I moved it back about 2 inches. So I've got the board on, and I need to go ahead and drill this hole somewhere up here, a little further up along where the mount is, and the same with this one. Instead of, you know, moving this hole just 2 inches back, I'm going to move it up into here too, so it doesn't interfere with that forging on the frame like I was telling you about earlier. Here's the footboard base with the mount moved back from the original holes. I'm going to go ahead and install this on the bike. Okay, so here's what all the fuss is about. So this is a one-off set of bronze footboards. It was cast for Indian Larry Legacy and Bobby and Elisa's son, Aiden, who died of ALD disease. AHAP stands for Aiden Has a Posse. So they did a charity event. This is a one-off set of boards that was made and sold at that charity event. Somebody bought them and then sold them later on Instagram, and I saw them right away and grabbed them, and everybody was trying to grab them at the same time, but I saw them as soon as they popped up and bought them, you know, without even flinching at the price, because they're just so cool, one of a kind set. So, you know, I got the Choppers Inc. and the Indy Larry. Aiden Has a Posse, all three right there together. And the bronze boards really go with the stainless pipes once they start the season, and the gold in the paint with the black, you know, takes on a bronze appearance. So I think they really go well with the bike. I'm glad they're on here. And I bought them. I had no place for them because I ride mostly stuff from the 30s, which has a rectangular footboard and not a D-shaped or a moon-shaped footboard. So I didn't really have a bike to put these on. Now the FatBoys come into my life, and they found a good home. So my transmission side cover is all pitted and corroded, and I have a couple other chrome ones, but I got a really cool one I'm going to put on this bike. I was originally going to use it on something else, but I've decided I'm going to use it on this FatBoy. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this transmission side cover off. Here's the inside of the cover I'm going to put on. I pulled the Harley Davidson ball and ramp system out of the other clutch cover. And let me show you how this works. It's a little plate with 3 machined grooves, and he's got these ball bearings in it. And here's the other side of it. And when you put it together, when you pull your clutch cable, it expands. So this is how your clutch disengages on this machine. You pull the cable, which connects right here, and this is what pushes your push rod open and pushes your clutch plates apart so that there's slip and give in it. But it's a really cool system. I'm gonna go ahead and just reinstall these Harley Davidson parts in this aftermarket cover. There's a little groove right there that plate slips into. I got the clutch cable installed, and I also have the ball end that goes on the end of the cable on. And then I just go ahead and install that onto the other side of the ball and ramp system. Put that down and just reinstall the snap ring. And there you go. Got the Roland Sands design. I think it's called Black Ops. Transmission side cover on. I really like it. You know, one thing I like is it kind of disappears. That chrome cover kind of popped out underneath that exhaust pipe, because, you know, normally on the FatBoy there's a pipe here and a pipe down low right here, and that bottom pipe is gone. That transmission cover kind of stuck out like a sore thumb. So now with the blacked out cover on there, it really kind of hides itself away under there. You know, this still has all this Arizona road dust on here I got to clean off. I'll degrease out a little bit of oil run and clean up bottom frame rail, but really cleans up this side of the bike. I got this other footboard. I'll mount it up to the base. I'm gonna go ahead and install it now. You can kind of see with the bronze Indian Larry boards, 110-year anniversary derby cover with the faux bronze on it. Those colors kind of really mimic each other, and this flat pewter silver color on the derby cover matches the pewter paint. One last thing that I found that I'm going to put on this bike, I was going to put it on my bad boy a few years ago and forgot to do it, and I just found it in the parts from that bike, is this. And this is really cool. This is the inspection cover for the primary, and you know, it's to check the chain tension and to add oil if you need to. And this is a prototype. I don't think we ever produced these. I was making this as a prototype for product back, 20 years ago. And so I believe this is the only one there is. I was making this myself in the shop. So I'm going to put this on here. I'm going to shine it up first real quick. Then put it on here because it's just such a cool piece. And I've never seen one anywhere else except for in my hands. Thanks for watching the World's Fastest FatBoy Part 1. Part 2 was supposed to be about the horsepower upgrade, but I had so many more cosmetic improvements that I wanted to make to the FatBoy that it was going to make Part 1 too long, so I made Part 2 another cosmetic installment. So look for Part 3 to have the horsepower upgrades coming soon. This is everything I'm going to use besides the pipe and the carburetor for the horsepower upgrade. Cylinder heads, gasket, kit. I got a camshaft, cam bearing, roller tappets, and adjustable push rods. So these are S&S super stock heads. They got the bathtub chamber. You see, normally it's a hemispherical chamber. They've got the bathtub chamber here, and I have matching pistons, brand new matching pistons that match this combustion chamber to give you great compression, really good squish, and they make horsepower. S&S 562 cam. I can put a bigger cam in it, but for the street, that's probably really the best choice. I'm sacrificing some horsepower, but I'm gaining a lot too with that cam. When you change the cam, you got to change the cam bearing. The EVO roller tappets that follow the cam and push the push rods and open your valves are good for about 40,000 miles. My bike has 34,000 miles on it. I'm not going to chance it, so I'm putting new Jim's roller tappets in it. Adjustable push rods. Got to use the adjustables with the bigger cam, so I've got those for it. And then a nice set of ornamental brass push rod tube collars that I'm going to put on. And these really don't add any horsepower, but they make it look cool. They've got the Harley Davidson bar and shield. It's a lot of work to pull the rocker covers just to change these, so I'll change these when I do the cam and horsepower install. So there is my horsepower. believe it or not, I bought some of this stuff used and got a really good deal on it. So the cam and the heads were $700, which is unbelievable for the power they give. And everything else just kind of supports that. So I have $1,000 in parts here. $1,000 is going to give me about 25 horsepower. That's a pretty good return. But in part 2, I did the Choppers Inc. points cover. I did the 110th anniversary Derby cover. I did the Roland Sands Design Clarity transmission side cover and changed the clutch cable. This one I mentioned, I always use Barnett clutch cables. I had a clutch cable break on me years ago on an EVO. Horrible experience. So I always use a really good quality Barnett cable for my clutch cable, something you might want to consider. I added the DMR hold fast billet aluminum foot pegs for the passenger. I've got a suction cup passenger seat that I'll put on here if Erin wants to ride with me. I leave it off most of the time because she's seldom going to ride with me, but if she does, it's there for her. So I got the foot pegs on. I put the steel kidney 1950 style toolbox on. Always good to carry your tools. And finally, of course, the bronze Indy and Larry footboards that just, I think, really found a wonderful home on the world's fastest FatBoy. So I got a lot of comments on the paint. A funny note about the paint, I bought this 1998 95th anniversary paint set that's in mint condition. I mean, the paint on the Softail now is in a really good condition. It's really, really nice. It's super clean, but if you get up close, it's got a few nicks and scratches here and there. This stuff is near perfect. And I bought this, and I was kind of torn on which one to use, but I really love the black and silver, so I'm probably gonna find myself a Heritage Softail and put this FatBoy sheet metal on it and kind of redo it in a similar fashion, so keep your eyes open for that. So part 3 coming soon with the horsepower upgrades. Look for that.